Yesterday, I was checking out Donald Trump's Twitter account, as I often do, and there was plenty of sort of weird grammar and random capitalization, very, very childish language syntax. And in the midst of all that, I saw Trump tweeting pictures of a wall and some construction equipment saying, "We're starting the Mexico wall construction." And I found it sort of weird because they're only now working on getting some of the initial money to start some border wall construction. So I thought, how could it be that they're already starting construction? Like it can take days just to even get the equipment to where it needs to be. So today I looked into it in more detail, and it turns out that Trump actually tweeted pictures of previously planned repairs to existing areas of border fencing that have actually been there since the 1990s. And Donald Trump's pictures are completely misleading fabrications, but I'm sure that they're playing really, really well with his base. Trump tweeted yesterday, "Great briefing this afternoon on the start of our southern border wall." And if you look at the pictures, a number of them there, you'll see pictures of what genuinely appears to be construction of some kind of wall or fence. But it turns out that this project Trump is tweeting about started almost 10 years ago. It has nothing to do with Trump whatsoever. And in fact, some of the exact same pictures that Trump included in his tweet were tweeted weeks ago by Border Patrol in a post about the replacement of a section of a couple of miles of fence that was already predetermined that it would take place. And what's more, there hasn't even been a decision made yet as to what the new wall will look like, as well as if and when construction will start, which it hasn't yet. It's another day and it's another lie. And the theme that we're seeing is the belligerence of the lies going up, right? Whole cloth concocted lies. Yesterday, Sarah Huckabee Sanders on the census questions on the, citizenship questions on the census issue, saying, other than 2010, we've had a question about citizenship on every census since 1965. Whole cloth fabrications. Trump just tweeting pictures of something that's completely unrelated to his Mexico border wall. And I think that this is a good opportunity to take this even further. The new conversation about the wall is how much money will be made available for it? Will the military pay for it, right? That's a new idea that Donald Trump has come up with. When will we be able to start construction on it? This is providing cover for the premise and promise that's been long forgotten that Mexico was going to pay for the wall, right? Donald Trump throughout the campaign said Mexico is going to pay for the wall. That I promise you. Who's even talking about that anymore? Nobody, because it was a lie from the beginning. It was never going to happen. And it's the last thing that right-wingers want to talk about. And if you force them to talk about it, they'll say, well, it's the fault of Democrats or Mexicans or whoever, that it's not going to happen. If it were up to Trump, it would. But that's the whole point. A lot of things that if they were up to the candidate would happen. If it were up to Bernie, we'd have Medicare for all. That doesn't mean that just promising it with no plan is something we should excuse, because if it were unilaterally up to them, it would happen. And I was thinking about this and I wondered, is it possible that someone, maybe to keep Trump from becoming irate, we know he gets a twice a day propaganda good news file. Is it possible someone came to Trump with these pictures and said, look, Mr. Trump, they're building the wall, and Trump has been tricked into thinking that this is the wall? I don't know. I saw an interesting analogy on Reddit. A lot of us growing up, if you had Nintendo, your little brother or sister wanted to play. And maybe it wasn't a two-player game or you didn't want to be bothered. So you would hand them a controller that wasn't plugged into anything, and they would just be happy because they thought that they were playing. Is the equivalent being done with Trump, where he was given pictures of this border fence and he genuinely thinks they're doing the thing he wants?
I don't know. I think he was actively trying to deceive his base.
You do think
And that's
so?
because he has to fulfill that campaign promise. When it comes to some of the other ones, like the economy's going to soar or we're going to win so much, you're going to be tired of winning. With that stuff, you can kind of like cherry pick information. When it comes to the wall, when in 2020 comes around, it's going to be, is there a wall constructed on the southern border or is there not?
Well, and it's very clear what they're going to say, which is they'll use stuff like what's happening, the replacement of fencing from 1990s that has been scheduled to be replaced for almost 10 years. They'll say that's an example of Trump achieving it if he's not able to achieve more. Lie after lie after lie. Today's episode of The David Pakman Show is made possible in part by Brilliant, which is a great online service that allows you to master concepts in math, science, and engineering by solving fun and challenging problems. And unlike other learning sites, when I'm using Brilliant, I'm learning by working hands-on with real-world scenarios and problems. You solve challenging puzzles that have been designed by expert educators and professionals from all over the world. They don't move too fast. They don't move too slowly. They take you step by step through the topics you're interested in at your own pace. And one of their principles is effective learning is active. Watching YouTube videos, which is great, by the way, I encourage it and I do it all the time. That's a more passive form of learning. That gets you so far. That's when Brilliant comes in. And you're learning not by watching, but by actually doing. And you can get started right now at brilliant.org/David Pakman. First 200 to visit the website, brilliant.org/David Pakman, will get 20% off an annual premium membership. But of course, sign up for free at brilliant.org/David Pakman.